of a meme barrage, if you will, on Twitter and elsewhere over what happened with GameStop and what happened with AMC and whatnot.
Now, the whole GameStop conspiracy theory,
but it persists to this day.
And to this day, I find it outrageous. The theories that I hear, the most attractive one, I started Citadel. Okay? Why is this? We're in a virtual world. It was fascinating to be in the middle of that conspiracy.
Yeah, what was that like?
I mean, they love this.
Whether you are either front-running them or they're not getting the best execution because you're skimming a penny off and you're giving that penny to Robinhood. What do you say to them?
I think it's either or.
You're convinced it's either or. I mean, when you sit around with your guys at the office, do you say, this makes a lot of sense? You say, this does not make any sense at all?
I think it's really frothy.
And I just wanted to get your sense, your feel for what's happening right now.
This is a complicated situation. I can't pick either of the two as the path. What I can tell you is the following. I'm worried that people no longer say it's worth going all in on a dream.
So we are getting some bird and privilege.
I don't know if I've worked my whole life to live like this.
Exercises we're getting engaged.
Used whenever anybody ascribes conscious intent to people with power. So I can say to you that school teachers are concerned about their salaries and they're organizing and they're threatening a strike and they're pressuring. I can say to you that farmers are doing this and looking for subsidies and facing certain policies. But the minute I say to you that the very people at the top, the plutocracy, the very rich and powerful, the ones who own most of America, that they are consciously pursuing power and wealth, someone will come along and say, what do you have, a conspiracy theory? Or they'll say, oh, you're cynical or you're paranoid. Their view is that stuff just happens. Things just happen, unintended consequences, or our leaders are stupid and they're jerks, or they're confused and they don't know any better. And of course, the critic knows much better than everybody else. People who operate in this world operate with intent. There's no such thing as imperialism without imperialists. There's no such thing as capitalism without capitalists. There's no such thing as rulers who are somnambulists who walk around in their sleep. You watch out for your interests. You watch out and you make calculations. What makes you think that David Rockefeller doesn't? What makes you think that the people at the top don't do it? And what makes you think they don't collude and organize? Or what do you think? You have a group of people who sit around in a room and they plan this? And I always say, oh no, God, they don't sit around in a room. They meet on carousels and they go up and down merry-go-rounds, or they meet skydiving and they hold hands and they argue. Of course they sit in rooms. Where the hell else are they?
Bird and privilege. I think most people are getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege. Exercises we're getting engaged. Bird and privilege. I think most people are getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege. Exercises we're getting engaged. Bird and privilege. I think most people are getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege. Bird and privilege. Exercises we're getting engaged. bird and privilege. Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege. Bird and privilege. Exercises we're getting engaged.
That building right there, the brown building, the tall one, is number 7 World Trade Center. I've heard several reports from several different officers now that that is the building that is going to go down next. In fact, one officer told me they're just waiting for that to come down at this point.
Bird and privilege. Bird and privilege.
Exercises
Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege and privilege. Exercises we're getting engaged. Privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub.
And the decision of one man
So we are getting some
to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway.
bird
75.
and privilege.
Has died in Afghanistan. The 69-year-old Egyptian national who was heading Al-Qaeda has reportedly died of natural causes. Al-Zawahiri was the leader of the terrorist group Al-Qaeda since 2011, succeeding Osama bin Laden. At least 2 senior officials who were next in line to replace him were also recently killed. That is Hamza bin Laden, the son of former Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, and Abu Muhammad al-Mazri, who was killed in Iran this year. As per Arab News, Al-Qaeda chief al-Zawahiri died due to natural causes. The unnamed sources from Afghanistan and Pakistan have confirmed the same.
So we are getting some bird and privilege. Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege. Exercises we're getting engaged. Bird and privilege. Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege. Bird and privilege. Bird and privilege. Exercises we're getting engaged. Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege. Exercises we're getting engaged. Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege.
Exercises
Bird and privilege. Bird and privilege. I think most people are getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Bird and privilege. Exercises. We're getting some. Bird and privilege.
On mankind this century, the best scenario vis-a-vis global warming is about 10 feet raising water. The worst scenario is about 100 feet. If the water on the planet is rise up 10 feet, that means the southern part of the United States is gone. England is gone. Most of Europe is gone. Most of Central America is gone. If that's the case, let's just take Florida, for example, which is one of the fastest growing beachfront condominiums on the planet. In the prospectus, when you invest, there should be, in the footnotes, if global warming is for real and water rises 10 feet, this investment you made is fuck all. Not one single investment prospectus written this century has alluded to global warming. If it were really true, the banks wouldn't invest. The banks wouldn't finance. Not one motherfucking condominium. So the people that have the money, the banks of this world, it's not gonna happen.
Bird and privilege. I think most people are getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. Privilege. I think bird and privilege. Exercises. We're getting engaged.
Of this world, no, it's not gonna happen. Greatest respect, ma'am.
Exercises. We're getting engaged. Bird and privilege. I think most people are getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable, I think most people are getting privilege scrub. You have to take it out.
Citizen working day in and day out to pay an income tax.
But We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education put a full-page ad in the USA Today on July 7th, 2000. And within the body of that ad was a $50,000 challenge for anyone that could show the law. And to me, $50,000 is a lot of money. So I went after that and did the research based on the fact that I thought, let's put this baby to bed. I'm hearing all these rumors. You know, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'll answer these people's questions that are asking me, and then I'll win this $50,000. And, you know, based on the research that I did throughout the year 2000 and that I'm still doing, I have not found that law. I've asked Congress, we've asked a lot of people in the IRS commissioners, helpers. They can't answer, because if they answer, the American people are going to know that this whole thing is a fraud.
There is no law that requires the average American worker in the private sector to pay a direct, unapportioned tax on their labor and compensation for services. There is no law.
I really expected that, of course there's a law that you can point to in the law book, the code that requires you to file a tax return. Of course there is. Maybe I don't know what it is right then as he was speaking to me, but sure. So naively, I agreed to go off and research it and get back to him. 3.5 months later, I was at that point where I couldn't find the statute that clearly made a person liable, at least not me and most people I know, and I had no choice in my mind except to resign.
I had to leave the IRS because I presented evidence that I had accumulated indicating that the agency was violating the law and violating people's rights. And I asked the agency for a response to my sincere concerns. And the answer I got was that they would not respond to my concerns and that they would provide me with the paperwork necessary to tender my resignation.
You can look through the statutes and look for the law that requires you to pay. And when you do that, you can't identify a law that requires the average person in America who earns a wage and works in private business to pay an income tax.
American citizens, along with the foundation, have been asking the IRS to specifically provide them with the underlying legal foundation upon which they administer and enforce the personal income tax laws in our country.
At the national level, when people would attempt to contact somebody of a much higher authority, say the commissioner, same kind of thing. They would get answers that were in effect non-answers.
You have to understand that an agency which will unlawfully impose a tax that doesn't exist is not going to care. If we, the people, don't know what our rights are, they're not going to tell us.
If Americans just learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
100% of what is collected is absorbed solely by interest on the federal debt. All individual income tax revenues are gone before 1 nickel is spent on the services taxpayers expect from government. People have been told, that you need this income tax system to fund government, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, my question is, well, if that's true, how did we fund government from 1776 to 1913?
The main purpose of the income tax is not to raise revenue, but to redistribute wealth and to control society.
A lot of people might say, well, gee, if there wasn't an income tax, what would happen to education? They don't understand that education is paid for the most part, out of state and local taxes, your property tax. People might say, well, how are we going to build and maintain our highways? If there's no money coming into the government, we need our highways. There is a tax on every gallon of gasoline that people buy. Proceeds from the income tax do not pay for highway construction.
I believe that in both spirit and substance, our tax system has come to be un-American. Death and taxes may be inevitable, but unjust taxes are not.
This small booklet includes the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. This is a document that every citizen should read. It's a document which freed an entire nation. This is the Internal Revenue Code, and this document, and the unlawful application of this document by the Internal Revenue Service has enslaved the nation that this document attempted to free.
Step over to the Senate. Well, most of the product that we've done is, except now what we may have added in the last day or so, and some of what we added is Senate to the bill, like a hearing. Bernie doesn't like hearing. Bernie loves hearing. Manchin doesn't want hearing in the bill and all that stuff. So some is Senate oriented, and then we had the family medical need. We figured if they're putting things in, then we can put something in, even if Manchin doesn't like it. So, so we are getting some bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out, but privilege violation can take you out. So we're again getting that as we go along as well. But when we pass a bill, then they will see it in its aggregate and make some.
Messaging, because that they have to take some of those things out regardless, no matter what you send over? You said you weren't going to send a messaging bill.
No, we're not sending a messaging bill, but we want to be sure that what we send is not birdable or privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub. Privilege scrub. They're the two. Birdable is important. You have to take it. Exercises for engage bathing. Bird and privilege.
GameStop, conspiracy theory.
Of this world, no, it's not going to happen. Greatest respect, ma'am.
Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. You have to take it out. We want to be sure that what we send is not birdable or bird bath or privilege scrub. They're the two.
Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable is important. Is you have to take it out. Bird and privilege. I think.
And what happened with AMC and whatnot.
Bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege strike is deadly to a bill. Birdable.